The Repairman. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Linda Dodge. The Repairman by Harry Harrison. The old man had that look of intense glee on his face that meant someone was in for a very rough time. Since we were alone, it took no great feat of intelligence to figure out it would be me. I talked first, bold attack being the very best defense, and so forth. I quit. Don't bother telling me what dirty job you have cooked up, because I have already quit, and you do not want to reveal company secrets to me. The grin was even wider now, and he actually chortled as he thumbed a button on his console. A thick legal document slid out of the delivery slot and onto his desk. "This is your contract," he said. "It tells how and when you will work. A steel and vanadium-bound contract that you couldn't crack with a molecular disruptor." I leaned out quickly, grabbed it, and threw it into the air with a single motion. Before it could fall, I had my solar out, and with a wide-angle shot, burned the contract to ashes. The old man just pressed a button again, and another contract slid out on his desk. If possible, the smile was still wider now. "Oh, I should have said a duplicate of your contract, like this one here." He made a quick note on his secretary plate. "I have deducted 13 credits from your salary for the cost of the duplicate, as well as a 100 credit fine for firing a solar inside of a building." I slumped, defeated, waiting for the blow to land. The old man fondled my contract. "According to this document, you can't quit, ever. Therefore, I have a little job I know you'll enjoy. A repair job. The Centauri beacon has shut down. It's a Mark III beacon." "What kind of beacon?" I asked him. "I have repaired hyperspace beacons from one arm of the galaxy to the other, and was sure I had worked on every type or model ever made. But I'd never heard of this kind." "Oh, it's a Mark III," the old man repeated, practically chortling. "I had never heard of it either, until records dug up the specs. They found them buried in the back of their oldest warehouse. This was the earliest type of beacon ever built, by Earth no less. Considering its location on one of the Proxima Centauri planets, it might be very well the first beacon." I looked at the blueprints he handed me and felt my eyes glaze with horror. "It's a monstrosity. It looks more like a distillery than a beacon. Must be at least a few hundred meters high. I'm a repairman, not an archaeologist. This pile of junk is over 2,000 years old. Just forget about it and build a new one." The old man leaned over his desk, breathing into my face. "It would take a year to install a new beacon, besides being too expensive, and this relic is on one of the main routes. We have ships making 15 light-year detours now." He leaned back, wiped his hands on his handkerchief, and gave me Lecture 44 on company duty and my troubles. "This department is officially called Maintenance and Repair, when it really should be called troubleshooting. Hyperspace beacons are made to last forever, or damn close to it. When one of them breaks down, it is never an accident, and repairing the thing is never a matter of just plugging in a new part." He was telling me, the guy who did the job while he sat back on his fat paycheck in an air-conditioned office. He rambled on. "How I wish that were all it took. I would have a fleet of part ships and junior mechanics to install them. But it's not like that at all. I have a fleet of expensive ships that are equipped to do almost anything, manned by a bunch of irresponsibles like you." I nodded moodily at his pointing finger. How I wish I could fire all of you! Combination space jockeys, mechanics, engineers, soldiers, con men, and anything else it takes to do the repairs. I have to browbeat, bribe, blackmail, and bulldoze you thugs into doing a simple job. If you think you're fed up, just think about how I feel. But the ships must go through. The beacons must operate. I recognized this deathless line as the curtain speech and crawled to my feet. He threw the Mark III file at me and went back to scratching in his papers. Just as I reached the door, he looked up and impaled me on his finger again. And don't you be getting any fancy ideas about jumping your contract. We can attach that bank account of yours on Algol too, long before you could draw the money out. I smiled, a little weakly, I'm afraid, as if I had never meant to keep that account a secret. His spies were getting more efficient every day. Walking down the hall, I tried to figure a way to transfer the money without his catching on, and knew at the same time he was figuring a way to outfigure me. It was all very depressing, so I stopped for a drink and then went on to the spaceport. By the time the ship was serviced, I had a course charted. The nearest beacon to the broken-down Proxima Centauri beacon was on one of the planets of Beta Circinus, and I headed there first, a short trip of only about 9 days in hyperspace. To understand the importance of the beacons, you have to understand hyperspace. Not that many people do, but it's easy enough to understand that in this non-space, the regular rules don't apply. Speed and measurements are a matter of relationship, not constant facts like the fixed universe. The first ships to enter hyperspace had no place to go, and no way even to tell if they had moved. The beacon solved that problem and opened the entire universe. They are built on planets and generate tremendous amounts of power. The power is turned into radiation that is punched through into hyperspace. Every beacon has a code signal as part of its radiation and represents a measurable point in hyperspace. Triangulation and quadrature of the beacons works for navigation, only it follows its own rules. The rules are complex and variable, but they are still rules that a navigator can follow. For a hyperspace jump, you need at least 4 beacons for an accurate fix. For long jumps, navigators use as many as 7 or 8. So every beacon is important and everyone has to keep operating. That is where I and the other troubleshooters came in. We travel in well-stocked ships that carry a little bit of everything, only 1 man to a ship, because that is all that takes to operate the overly efficient repair machinery. Due to the very nature of our job, we spend most of our time just rocketing through normal space. After all, when a beacon breaks down, how do you find it? Not through hyperspace. All you can do is approach as close as you can by using the other beacons, and then finish the trip in normal space. This can take months, and often does. This job didn't turn out to be quite that bad. I zeroed in on the Beta Circinus beacon and ran a complicated 8-point problem through the navigator, using every beacon I could get an accurate fix on. The computer gave me a course with an estimated point of arrival, as well as a built-in safety factor I could never eliminate from the machine. I would very much rather take a chance of breaking through near some star than spend time just barreling through normal space. But apparently Tech knows this too. They had a safety factor built into the computer, so you couldn't end up inside a star no matter how hard you tried. I'm sure there was no humaneness in this decision. They just didn't want to lose the ship. It was a 20-hour jump, ship's time, and I came through in the middle of nowhere. The robot analyzer chuckled to itself and scanned all the stars, comparing them to the spectra of Proxima Centauri. It finally rang a bell and blinked a light. I peeped through the eyepiece. A fast